Hey Taurus, welcome back to another deep dive into what the universe has in store for you. I have to tell you, when I sat down to pull cards for you today, the energy was absolutely electric. I mean, I could feel this intense shift happening even before I shuffled the deck. Something major is changing in your world, and honestly, it is about time. So today we are talking about something that I know many of you have been feeling in your bones. This whole situation where someone in your life has been trying to control you, manipulate you, maybe even trap you in their web of drama and chaos. But here's the thing that is making me so excited to share this reading with you. That chapter is closing. They are realizing that their old tricks do not work on you anymore. And let me tell you, they are not handling it well at all. I pulled 10 cards for this reading, and each one tells such a powerful part of your story. We are going to dive deep into each one because the messages here are profound and they deserve your full attention. The universe is literally showing me scene after scene of this person or these people in your life who have been used to having some kind of hold over you, and now they are watching helplessly as you slip through their fingers like water. You know what I love most about being a Taurus? Your incredible strength and determination. When you decide something is over, it is over. And right now, the cards are showing me that you have made that decision. You have reached that point where you look at this situation, this person, this dynamic, and you just say no more. And it is beautiful to witness, honestly. Let me start by setting the scene for what I am seeing energetically around you right now. There is this person, and they could be a romantic partner, an ex, a family member, a friend, or even a coworker. The relationship does not matter as much as the pattern does. This person has gotten comfortable with the idea that they can push your buttons, that they can manipulate your emotions, that they can somehow control your responses and reactions. They have built their whole approach to dealing with you around this belief that they know exactly how to get under your skin. But something has shifted in you, Taurus, something fundamental and powerful. And they are starting to realize that their usual tactics are not working anymore. The person who used to react predictably to their drama is nowhere to be found. The person who used to get drawn back into their chaos time and time again has simply vanished. And in their place is someone who looks at their attempts at manipulation with calm detachment, maybe even a little bit of amusement. Can you imagine how terrifying that must be for someone who has built their whole relationship with you around their ability to control your emotional state? They are watching you become this untouchable version of yourself, and they do not know what to do with that reality. So what do? They escalate. They become more desperate. They try harder and louder variations of the same tired techniques that used to work on the old version of you. But here is what they do not understand, and what the cards are making crystal clear. You are not the same person anymore. You have evolved. You have grown. You have learned to value your peace more than their chaos, and that transformation is permanent. This is not some temporary phase where you are just taking a break from their drama. This is who you are now. The first card I pulled for you is the Nine of Swords. And honestly, this card made me pause, because at first glance, you might think this represents you lying awake at night, worried about this situation. But that is not what I am seeing at all. This Nine of Swords is representing them. This is showing me their mental state right now. And Taurus, they are absolutely tormented by their inability to reach you emotionally anymore. Picture this. They are lying awake at night, and their mind is just racing with all these scenarios about how they can get back into your head. They are analyzing every interaction you have had recently, looking for cracks in your armor, searching for signs that the old you is still in there somewhere waiting to be triggered. But every time they think they have found a way in, you prove them wrong with your complete lack of reaction to their attempts. The Nine of Swords traditionally represents anxiety, worry, and sleepless nights, filled with regret and mental anguish. And that is exactly what this person is experiencing right now. They are haunted by the realization that they may have actually lost their hold over you permanently. All those nights, they took your reactions for granted. All those times, they assumed you would always be there to absorb their chaos and drama. All those moments when they thought they had you figured out completely. Those memories are now keeping them awake at night. What makes this even more powerful is that you probably do not even realize the extent of their mental torment. You are going about your life, focusing on your growth, your peace, your goals, and meanwhile, they are over there completely consumed with thoughts of you and their inability to affect you anymore. The tables have turned so completely that now they are the ones obsessing, while you are the one who has moved on mentally and emotionally. I can see them trying to craft the perfect text message that will get a response from you. They write it, delete it, rewrite it, delete it again. They think about calling you, then talk themselves out of it because they know you will not answer, or if you do, you will be politely distant in a way that drives them absolutely crazy. They might even reach out through mutual friends or family members, fishing for information about your state of mind, hoping to find evidence that you are secretly missing their chaos. But you are not missing it, are you, Taurus? That is what has them so absolutely bewildered. They cannot understand how someone can just walk away from a dynamic that has been established for so long. They keep waiting for you to crack, to show some sign of the old patterns, to give them an opening they can exploit. But that opening is never coming because the person they are looking for no longer exists. The Nine of Swords is also about guilt and regret, and I am definitely seeing that energy around this person. They are starting to realize that maybe they pushed too hard, maybe they took your patience and forgiveness for granted one too many times. There is this dawning awareness that they may have actually killed the very thing they were trying to control, and that realization is eating them alive. You know what I find so interesting about this card showing up first? It is setting the tone for this entire reading by showing you that while you have found your peace and power, they are in complete internal chaos. You are sleeping soundly at night while they are the ones staring at the ceiling, wondering how they lost control of a situation they thought they had mastered. The second card that came through for you is the Seven of Cups, and this one is absolutely fascinating in this context. The Seven of Cups represents illusions, choices that lead to confusion, and being overwhelmed by options that are not really as good as they appear. And I am seeing this as representing how this person is desperately trying to figure out what fantasy or illusion they can present to you that will draw you back in. They are cycling through all their greatest hits, Taurus. Every manipulation technique that has worked on you in the past is being dusted off and examined for potential effectiveness. The love bombing approach, where they suddenly shower you with affection and promises of change. The victim routine, where they position themselves as the one who has been wronged and needs your compassion. The anger and intimidation tactic, where they try to make you feel guilty for withdrawing your emotional availability. The crisis mode, where they create or exaggerate some emergency that requires your immediate attention and care. But here is what the Seven of Cups is really showing me. All of these options they are considering are just different flavors of the same basic illusion. They are not real changes or genuine offers of growth and healing. They are just different costumes for the same manipulative core. And somewhere deep down, they know this, which makes their situation even more desperate. The Seven of Cups often appears when someone is paralyzed by too many choices, but in this case, it is more like they are paralyzed by the realization that none of their choices are actually viable. Every option they consider requires the old version of you to work, the version of you that would react emotionally to their various performances. But since that version of you no longer exists, all of their carefully crafted illusions are useless. I can see them going back and forth between different approaches. Maybe they will try the romantic angle, sending you songs or sharing memories of good times you had together. Then they will switch to the guilt trip angle, reminding you of everything they have done for you or everything you mean to them. Then they will pivot to the anger approach, accusing you of being cold or heartless or selfish. But none of it lands the way it used to, and they can feel that shift in the very air between you. The Seven of Cups is also about wishful thinking and living in a fantasy world. This person has created this elaborate fantasy in their mind where they can somehow return things to the way they were before. They imagine scenarios where they say just the right thing or create just the right situation, and suddenly you will remember how things used to be and fall back into the old patterns with them. But that fantasy is never going to become reality because it is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what has changed. They think this is about them needing to try harder or be more clever or more convincing. They do not understand that this is about you becoming a completely different person who no longer resonates with the frequency of their chaos and manipulation. The cups in this card represent different emotional options and possibilities, but they are all revealed to be empty when examined closely. Just like the various approaches this person is considering, they might look appealing or promising on the surface, but underneath they are all the same desperate attempt to recreate a dynamic that no longer serves anyone involved. What I love about this card appearing in your reading is that it shows you how much they are struggling with their lack of options, while you are experiencing the clarity and peace that comes from being free of their illusions. You are no longer seeing them through the filter of who you wished they could be or who they pretended to be. You are seeing them clearly for who they actually are, and that clear vision is what makes you immune to all their various performances and manipulations. The third card I pulled is the Five of Pentacles, and this one hit me right in the chest with its accuracy. The Five of Pentacles represents feeling left out in the cold, experiencing loss and hardship, feeling like you are on the outside, looking in at warmth and comfort that you cannot access. And this is exactly where this person finds themselves right now in relation to you. For so long, they had access to your warmth, your energy, your emotional availability, your care and concern. Even when they were treating you poorly or manipulating you, they knew they could count on your Taurus loyalty and dedication to stick around. They took for granted that no matter what they did, you would always be there as this reliable source of emotional support and engagement. But now they are standing outside in the cold, looking through the window at the warmth and light of your life, and they cannot get in. You have changed the locks, so to speak. The old keys they used to gain access to your emotional world no longer work, and they are realizing what they have lost, but only now that it is too late to get it back. The Five of Pentacles often represents people who have fallen on hard times through their own choices and actions. This person created their current situation through their consistent mistreatment of your generosity and patience. They are experiencing the natural consequences of taking someone like you for granted for too long. Every Taurus knows that we have incredible patience and loyalty, but we also have limits, and once those limits are crossed, we do not go backwards. I can see them trying to peek into your social media, hoping to find signs that you are struggling without their presence in your life. They are looking for evidence that you miss them, that you are having second thoughts about cutting them out of your emotional space. But instead, they are seeing you thriving, growing, exploring new interests, connecting with people who actually appreciate you. And that contrast is highlighting their own emotional poverty in stark relief. The Five of Pentacles is also about pride preventing someone from asking for the help they need. This person wants to find a way back into your good graces, but their pride will not let them admit the full extent of how badly they treated you. They want reconciliation on their terms, where they can minimize their behavior and you can just forget about the patterns that drove you away in the first place. But you are not forgetting, Taurus, and you are not pretending that their behavior was not as bad as it was. You have done the work to understand your own worth and value, and you are no longer willing to accept scraps of respect and consideration when you deserve the full meal. This person is experiencing the poverty of spirit that comes from burning bridges with someone who genuinely cared about them. What makes this card even more powerful in your reading is that it shows the role reversal that has occurred. They used to position themselves as the one with all the power in the dynamic, the one who could take you or leave you, the one who had you figured out and under control. Now they are the one on the outside, hoping for scraps of attention and acknowledgement that may never come. The Five of Pentacles often appears when someone needs to swallow their pride and ask for help or forgiveness with genuine humility. But I do not see this person being capable of that level of honesty and vulnerability. Instead, they are more likely to continue trying to find ways to manipulate their way back in rather than doing the authentic self-reflection and behavior change that would actually be required. Moving into the fourth card, I have the Knight of Swords, And this card is showing me their current approach to trying to reconnect with you. The Knight of Swords represents impulsive action, aggressive communication, and charging forward without thinking things through properly. This person is in full panic mode, and they are making moves that are only making their situation worse. I can see them sending impulsive texts or messages, probably late at night when their desperation peaks. These are not carefully considered communications designed to open a healthy dialogue. These are knee-jerk reactions to their discomfort with being shut out of your life. The Knight of Swords energy is all about acting first and thinking later, and that is exactly what this person is doing right now. They might be showing up places where they know you will be, hoping to create those accidentally on-purpose encounters that will force you to interact with them. Or they could be reaching out through intermediaries, asking mutual friends or family members to intercede on their behalf. They are throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, but they are doing it with such obvious desperation that it is having the opposite effect of what they want. The Knight of Swords can also represent someone who is intellectually sharp but emotionally immature, and that describes this person perfectly right now. They can probably analyze the situation and understand intellectually that their approach is not working, but they cannot regulate their emotions enough to actually change their strategy. So they keep making the same basic mistakes over and over again, just with different variations. What I find so telling about this card is that it shows someone who is moving fast, but not necessarily moving forward. All this frantic activity, all these desperate attempts to reestablish contact and control, but none of it is actually bringing them any closer to their goal. If anything, every move they make just reinforces your decision to maintain your distance. The Knight of Swords is known for being tactless and saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. I would not be surprised if this person has already made some communications that have actually pushed you further away rather than drawing you closer. Maybe they have accused you of being cold or unreasonable. Maybe they have tried to minimize their past behavior or make it seem like you are overreacting to normal relationship challenges. Whatever they have said, it has probably only confirmed your intuition that keeping your distance is the right choice. This card is also showing me that they are operating from a place of ego rather than genuine care for your well-being. The Knight of Swords charges forward because he believes his cause is righteous and his approach is justified. This person similarly believes that their desire to reconnect with you justifies whatever tactics they are using to try to make that happen. They are not considering whether reconnection is actually good for you or whether you might have valid reasons for maintaining your boundaries. The Knight energy is traditionally young and impulsive, lacking the wisdom that comes with experience and maturity. Even if this person is chronologically an adult, they are approaching this situation with the emotional maturity of someone much younger. They want what they want when they want it, and they cannot understand why you will not just give them another chance to prove they can do better. But here is what the Knight of Swords does not understand. You are not looking for proof anymore. You have moved beyond the phase of your life where you are willing to wait for people to grow up and start treating you with basic respect and consideration. You have learned to take people's actions at face value rather than holding on to hope that they will eventually become who you need them to be. The fifth card in your spread is the Ten of Swords, and honestly, Taurus, this card made me want to stand up and cheer for you. The Ten of Swords represents the complete ending of a cycle, often through betrayal or painful realization. But it also represents the bottom of a situation, which means the only way forward is up. And in your case, this card is showing me the death of the old dynamic between you and this person. The Ten of Swords often looks dramatic and painful in traditional depictions, with swords piercing through a figure lying on the ground. But here is what many people miss about this card. The figure is looking toward the horizon where the sun is rising. This is not just about an ending. This is about the promise of a new beginning that can only come after the old way of being has been completely released. You have reached that point, Taurus, where you can clearly see that the old version of your relationship with this person is dead and buried. All the hope you used to hold that they would change, all the excuses you used to make for their behavior, all the ways you used to minimize your own needs in order to accommodate their chaos, all of that is finished. And while that realization might have been painful at first, it has ultimately set you free. The Ten of Swords is about betrayal, but not just betrayal by others. Sometimes it represents the betrayal of ourselves when we stay in situations that we know are not good for us. You may have had that moment of clarity where you realized that every time you went back to this person or accepted their behavior, you were betraying your own inner wisdom that was telling you to walk away. But that cycle of self-betrayal is over now. The Ten of Swords marks the completion of that pattern. You have finally honored your own intuition and your own worth enough to stop participating in a dynamic that was draining your energy and dimming your light. And the person who is so comfortable with that old dynamic cannot understand or accept what has happened. From their perspective, you have suddenly become unreasonable, cold, different. They cannot see that you have simply stopped betraying yourself for their comfort. They cannot understand that what feels like rejection to them feels like self-respect to you. The Ten of Swords is showing me that they are experiencing this change as a complete devastation of their expectations and assumptions. This card also represents rock bottom, and I think this person may be approaching that point in their attempts to reconnect with you. Every strategy they try fails more spectacularly than the last. Every desperate move they make just reinforces your conviction that you made the right choice in walking away. They are running out of options, running out of tricks, running out of ways to avoid facing the reality that their behavior has consequences. The beautiful thing about the Ten of Swords is that it clears the slate completely. When you have hit absolute rock bottom, when every illusion has been stripped away, when every false hope has been crushed, that is when real transformation becomes possible. Not likely, but possible. This person would have to completely reconstruct their approach to relationships and their understanding of how to treat people they care about. But whether they do that work or not is no longer your concern. Is it, Taurus? The Ten of Swords has freed you from the responsibility of waiting around to see if they will ever grow up and start acting right. You have accepted that the old dynamic is dead, and you are free to create new relationships and experiences based on your evolved understanding of what you deserve. Now we move to the sixth card, which is the Ace of Wands, and this is where the reading takes a beautiful turn toward your empowerment and new beginnings. The Ace of Wands represents new creative energy, fresh inspiration, and the spark of something exciting beginning in your life. While this other person is stuck in desperation and old patterns, you are stepping into a completely new chapter of self-expression and personal power. The Ace of Wands is fire energy. And as a Taurus, you might not always identify as a fire sign, but this card is showing me that you have discovered your inner flame. You have found that part of yourself that is passionate, creative, inspiring, and unstoppable. The same strength and determination that makes you such a loyal and reliable friend is now being channeled into creating an amazing life for yourself. I can see you pursuing new interests, exploring creative projects, maybe even considering career changes or business ventures that align more closely with your authentic self. The Ace of Wands represents the moment when inspiration strikes and you suddenly see possibilities that you never noticed before. And this is happening for you right now, partly because you have removed the energy drain that this difficult person represented in your life. When someone is constantly pulling on your emotional resources, constantly creating drama and chaos that you feel responsible for managing, it leaves very little energy available for your own growth and creativity. But now that you have reclaimed that energy, you are discovering just how much you are capable of when your focus is not scattered across other people's unnecessary problems. The Ace of Wands is also about leadership and taking initiative in your own life. You are no longer waiting for this person to get their act together so that you can feel peaceful and happy. You are no longer organizing your emotional state around their behavior and moods. Instead, you are taking charge of your own experience and actively creating the kind of life you want to live. This card often appears when someone is about to embark on a new creative or professional venture that feels deeply aligned with their authentic self. Maybe you are thinking about starting that business you have always dreamed about, or pursuing that artistic hobby more seriously, or even just decorating your space in a way that reflects your true personality rather than accommodating someone else's preferences. Whatever form this new creative energy is taking, the Ace of Wands is showing me that it feels exciting and inspiring in a way that you might not have experienced for a long time. When you are constantly managing other people's emotional chaos, it can dull your connection to your own inner fire. But that fire is back now, and it is burning brighter than ever. I also see the Ace of Wands representing new people coming into your life who actually appreciate and celebrate your energy rather than trying to control or diminish it. When you are no longer tolerating people who treat you poorly, you create space for people who recognize your worth and want to support your growth and happiness. The timing of this card in your reading is so perfect because it shows the contrast between where you are heading and where this other person is stuck. While they are trapped in old patterns of manipulation and control, you are stepping into a fresh new chapter of authenticity and creative self-expression. The same qualities that made you attractive to them in the first place, your groundedness, your loyalty, your nurturing nature, are now being directed toward people and projects that actually deserve them. The seventh card I drew for you is the Queen of Cups, and this card is absolutely beautiful in this reading because it represents you in your full emotional maturity and wisdom. The Queen of Cups is someone who has deep emotional intelligence, strong intuitive abilities, and the capacity to love deeply while also maintaining healthy boundaries. And that is exactly who you have become through this experience. The Queen of Cups knows the difference between compassion and enabling, between love and codependency, between being supportive and being taken advantage of. She has learned to trust her intuitive gifts and emotional wisdom rather than ignoring red flags in favor of keeping the peace. And you have developed these same qualities through your journey with this difficult person. I can see how this experience has actually strengthened your emotional intelligence rather than hardening your heart. You have not become cold or bitter. Instead, you have become more discerning. You have learned to extend your emotional generosity to people who can receive it appropriately and reciprocate it in healthy ways. You have learned that saying no to people who do not treat you well is actually an act of self-love, not selfishness. The Queen of Cups is also deeply intuitive, and I can see that you have learned to trust your gut feelings about people and situations rather than talking yourself out of your instincts. When something feels off, you honor that feeling now instead of trying to rationalize it away or give people the benefit of the doubt at your own expense. This person who is so desperate to reconnect with you probably remembers the version of you who would ignore her intuition in favor of being accommodating and understanding. They remember someone who could be talked out of her boundaries, someone who would second-guess her own perceptions when challenged. But that person no longer exists, and the Queen of Cups who has taken her place cannot be manipulated in the same ways. The Queen of Cups represents emotional mastery, and part of that mastery is knowing when to engage emotionally and when to preserve your energy. You have learned that not every emotional invitation needs to be accepted. Not every dramatic situation requires your participation, and not every person who demands your emotional labor actually deserves it. I also see this card representing your ability to remain emotionally centered even when other people are being chaotic and desperate around you. The Queen of Cups sits calmly on her throne, even when the waters around her are choppy. She does not get pulled into other people's emotional storms because she has learned to maintain her own emotional equilibrium regardless of what others are doing. This emotional centeredness is probably driving this other person absolutely crazy because they are used to being able to destabilize your emotional state whenever they wanted your attention or wanted to regain control of the dynamic between you. But now you remain calm and unmoved by their various performances, and that calm is like a mirror showing them how frantic and desperate they have become. The Queen of Cups is also associated with psychic abilities and deep spiritual insight. You may be finding that your intuitive abilities have become much stronger since you stopped allowing this person to cloud your judgment with their chaos and manipulation. When your emotional energy is not being constantly drained by someone else's drama, you have much more clarity about what is really going on beneath the surface of situations. The eighth card in your reading is the Four of Swords, and this card represents rest, recuperation, and peaceful withdrawal from conflict. This is showing me your current state of mind and energy, Taurus, and it is such a beautiful contrast to the frantic desperation that this other person is experiencing. The Four of Swords often appears when someone has been through a difficult period and is now taking time to recover and restore their inner balance. You have been through the emotional challenge of recognizing the truth about this person's behavior, making the difficult decision to withdraw your energy from the dynamic, and dealing with their various attempts to draw you back in. And now you are in a phase of peaceful recovery. I can see you enjoying quiet moments, maybe spending more time alone or with a small circle of trusted friends who actually support your well-being. You are not interested in drama or chaos right now. You are much more drawn to activities and people that feel peaceful and restorative. This might be the perfect time for meditation, reading, gentle exercise, creative pursuits, or simply organizing your space in a way that feels calm and nurturing. The Four of Swords represents strategic withdrawal, which is different from running away or hiding. This is a conscious choice to remove yourself from unnecessary conflict and drama so that you can restore your energy and gain clarity about your next steps. You are not avoiding this person because you are afraid of them. You are avoiding them because engaging with them is not beneficial for your well-being or growth. This peaceful withdrawal is probably confusing and frustrating for this other person because they are used to being able to provoke reactions from you. They might interpret your calm as indifference or your peace as coldness, but that is only because they have never seen you operate from a place of genuine emotional balance before. They only know the version of you that could be easily triggered and drawn into their chaos. The Four of Swords also represents mental rest and the healing that comes from stepping away from overthinking and overanalyzing situations. You may have spent a lot of time in the past trying to understand this person's motivations, trying to figure out how to help them change, trying to find the right words or actions that would improve the dynamic between you. But now you have given yourself permission to stop working so hard on problems that are not yours to solve. This mental rest is allowing you to reconnect with your own natural rhythms and preferences instead of constantly adapting to someone else's chaos and urgency. You are remembering what it feels like to wake up without immediately wondering what mood this other person will be in and how it will affect your day. You are rediscovering your own interests and priorities instead of organizing your life around managing their emotions and reactions. The Four of Swords often appears before a period of renewed action and engagement, but from a much more centered and intentional place. You are not withdrawing permanently from life and relationships. You are taking the time you need to restore your energy so that you can engage with people and opportunities that actually deserve your attention and effort. This card is also showing me that you have learned the value of boundaries and the importance of protecting your mental and emotional space from people who do not respect it. The Four of Swords represents the peace that comes from saying no to energy vampires, and yes to your own need for tranquility and restoration. The ninth card I pulled is the Two of Pentacles, and this card is showing me how this person is desperately trying to juggle different approaches and strategies to get back into your life. The Two of Pentacles represents someone who is trying to balance multiple priorities or manage several challenging situations at once, often with a sense of barely keeping everything together. I can see this person going back and forth between different tactics, maybe being sweet and apologetic one day and then angry and accusatory the next, when the sweet approach does not get the response they want. They might be trying to balance their wounded pride with their desire to reconnect, their need to be right with their fear of losing you permanently, their impulse to control with their recognition that control is not working anymore. The Two of Pentacles is about juggling, and this person is definitely juggling multiple balls in the air right now. They might be managing their public persona, trying to look like everything is fine while privately being consumed with thoughts of you. They could be juggling different stories they tell to mutual friends, trying to control the narrative about why you two are not talking anymore. They might even be juggling multiple relationship options, thinking that if they can make you jealous or show you they have other choices, it will somehow make you more interested in reconnecting. But the thing about juggling is that it requires constant effort and attention, and it is ultimately unsustainable. You cannot juggle forever without eventually dropping something, and this person is approaching that point. All their various strategies and approaches require tremendous mental and emotional energy, and they are starting to feel the strain of trying to maintain so many different fronts at once. The Two of Pentacles also represents someone who is having trouble prioritizing effectively. Instead of focusing on genuine self-reflection and behavior change, which would be the most effective approach if they truly wanted to repair the relationship, they are scattering their energy across dozens of superficial tactics and manipulations. They are working harder, not smarter, and it is exhausting them. I can see them checking your social media obsessively, analyzing every post and photo for clues about your emotional state. They might be driving by places they know you frequent, hoping to catch a glimpse of you or create an opportunity for accidental contact. They could be asking mutual friends casual-seeming questions about how you are doing, fishing for information they can use to craft their next approach. All of this activity might look like they are handling the situation well from the outside, but the Two of Pentacles reveals the internal reality of someone who is barely keeping it together. They are expending enormous amounts of energy trying to manage a situation that is ultimately beyond their control, and that effort is taking a toll on other areas of their life. The Two of Pentacles can also represent financial or practical juggling, and I would not be surprised if this person's obsession with winning you back is affecting their work performance, their other relationships, or their ability to focus on practical responsibilities. When someone becomes fixated on controlling an outcome that is not actually within their power to control, it often creates problems in areas where they do have legitimate influence and responsibility. What makes this card so interesting in your reading is that it shows how much effort this person is putting into trying to recreate something that you have peacefully released. While they are frantically juggling all these different approaches and strategies, you are resting in the Four of Swords energy we discussed earlier. The contrast could not be more stark. They are in chaos while you are in peace. The final card in your reading is the Ace of Cups and Taurus. This card is making me emotional because it represents such a beautiful new beginning in your emotional and spiritual life. The Ace of Cups is about new love, emotional renewal, spiritual awakening, and the fresh flow of positive feelings and experiences coming into your life. This card is showing me that removing this difficult person from your emotional space has created room for something much more beautiful and authentic to emerge. The Ace of Cups represents the universe offering you a fresh start in matters of the heart, and this fresh start is only possible because you were brave enough to release what was not serving you. The new emotional experiences represented by the Ace of Cups might come in the form of a romantic relationship with someone who actually knows how to love and respect you properly. Or it might manifest as deeper friendships with people who celebrate your growth and support your happiness rather than trying to control or diminish you. It could even represent a renewed relationship with yourself, a deeper level of self-love and self-acceptance that becomes the foundation for all your other relationships. What I love most about the Ace of Cups appearing in your reading is that it represents emotional abundance after a period of emotional scarcity. You have been rationing your emotional energy, trying to make it stretch across this person's endless needs for validation, attention, and drama. But now you have access to the full flow of your emotional generosity again, and it can be directed toward people and situations that can actually receive it appropriately and reciprocate in healthy ways. The Ace of Cups is also deeply spiritual, representing a connection to your higher self and your most authentic emotional truth. Through this experience with this difficult person, you have learned to distinguish between genuine connection and manipulation, between authentic love and emotional addiction, between healthy relationship dynamics and codependent patterns. This spiritual and emotional clarity is going to serve you so well as you move forward, Taurus. You will never again mistake intensity for intimacy, drama for passion, or possessiveness for love. The Ace of Cups represents your capacity to love deeply and authentically. But now that capacity is informed by wisdom and protected by healthy boundaries. I can see new people being drawn into your orbit who resonate with this more evolved version of yourself. These are people who have also done their own emotional work, who understand the value of mutual respect and genuine care, who know how to love without trying to control or possess the people they care about. The Ace of Cups also represents creative and artistic inspiration flowing through your life in ways that feel deeply fulfilling and authentic. When your emotional energy is not being constantly drained by someone else's chaos, you have so much more capacity for the activities and pursuits that actually bring you joy and satisfaction. This card is showing me that you are entering a phase of your life where your emotions feel clean and clear, like fresh water from a mountain spring. There is no more muddiness, no more confusion about what you feel or why you feel it. You are no longer having to sort through the complicated mix of love, frustration, hope, and disappointment that characterized your connection with this difficult person. The Ace of Cups represents emotional honesty, both with yourself and with others. You are no longer pretending that unacceptable behavior is acceptable, no longer making excuses for treatment that falls short of what you deserve, no longer convincing yourself that you are being too sensitive or expecting too much from people who claim to care about you. Now let me tie all of these cards together for you, beautiful Taurus, because the story they tell is so powerful and so hopeful. We started with the Nine of Swords showing this person's mental anguish as they realize they have lost their hold over you. Then the Seven of Cups revealed their desperate cycling through different manipulative approaches, all of which are ultimately empty illusions. The Five of Pentacles showed them experiencing the cold reality of being shut out from the warmth and energy they took for granted. The Knight of Swords revealed their frantic, impulsive attempts to force their way back into your life, followed by the Ten of Swords representing the complete death of the old dynamic and their devastation at reaching rock bottom. But then your cards started telling a completely different story. The Ace of Wands showed your creative fire rekindling as you step into new projects and possibilities. The Queen of Cups revealed your emotional maturity and wisdom, your ability to love deeply while maintaining healthy boundaries. The Four of Swords showed your peaceful withdrawal and restoration, and the Two of Pentacles revealed their continued frantic juggling of unsuccessful strategies while you rest in peace. Finally, the Ace of Cups promises beautiful new emotional experiences and connections based on your evolved understanding of what healthy love actually looks like. Do you see the pattern here, Taurus? While they are stuck in cycles of desperation, manipulation, and emotional chaos, you are growing, healing, creating, and preparing for genuinely beautiful experiences with people who know how to love you properly. This person keeps trying the same old tricks because they cannot accept that you have fundamentally changed. They are looking for the old you, the version who would respond to their various performances and manipulations. But that version of you has been replaced by someone much stronger, wiser, and more discerning. What they do not understand is that their desperate attempts to reconnect are actually confirming your decision to maintain distance. Every manipulative text, every guilt trip, every attempt to force contact just reinforces your awareness that they have not learned anything or changed anything about their approach to relationships. You know what the most beautiful part of this reading is? You do not need them to understand or accept your growth for it to be real and permanent. Your transformation does not require their approval or validation. You have become someone who knows her own worth, who trusts her own instincts, who chooses peace over chaos and authentic connection over dramatic intensity. They are discovering that the person they thought they had figured out and under control has evolved beyond their comprehension. The old version of you who would chase after their approval, who would twist herself into knots trying to make them happy, who would accept crumbs of respect and call it love, that person no longer exists, and the person who has taken her place is magnificent, Taurus. You are operating from a place of genuine self-love now, not the performative kind that seeks external validation, but the real kind that sets boundaries and makes choices based on what actually serves your highest good. I can see them becoming more and more desperate as they realize that none of their old tactics work on this new version of you. They might try love bombing, showering you with attention and promises they have no intention of keeping. They might try playing victim, positioning themselves as the wounded party who deserves your compassion and understanding. They might even try threats or ultimatums, attempting to force you back into the old dynamic through fear or guilt. But none of it will work because you have developed something they cannot manipulate: genuine self-respect. When you truly respect yourself, you cannot be convinced to accept disrespectful treatment. When you truly love yourself, you cannot be talked into relationships that require you to diminish your light or compromise your values. The cards are showing me that this person is about to learn a very hard lesson about consequences. They are used to living in a world where they could treat people poorly and still maintain access to their energy and attention. They believed that your loyalty and forgiveness were unlimited resources they could draw on indefinitely without reciprocating or changing their behavior. But loyalty without reciprocity is not loyalty. It is self-abandonment. Forgiveness without accountability is not forgiveness. It is enabling, and you have finally learned the difference between loving someone and being addicted to the familiar pain they provide. I want you to know that the way you are feeling right now, this sense of peace and clarity and quiet strength, this is not temporary. This is who you are now. You have not just changed your mind about this person. You have evolved into someone who naturally attracts different kinds of experiences and relationships. The old you might have felt guilty about their distress, might have worried about being too harsh or unforgiving. But the new you understands that allowing someone to treat you poorly is not kindness. It is participation in a dynamic that harms both people involved. You are actually doing them a favor by refusing to enable their destructive patterns, even if they cannot see it that way right now. Your peaceful detachment is giving them the opportunity to hit rock bottom and potentially do the self-reflection and growth work they need to do to become a better person. But whether they take that opportunity or not is entirely up to them. It is no longer your responsibility to manage their emotional development or protect them from the consequences of their choices. The cards are telling me that while they spiral deeper into desperation and confusion, you are ascending into a completely different vibration. You are attracting people and opportunities that match your new level of self-respect and emotional intelligence. You are discovering interests and passions that were buried under the weight of their constant drama and chaos. Most importantly, you are learning to trust yourself completely. Every time you maintain your boundaries despite their attempts to cross them, you strengthen your relationship with your own inner wisdom. Every time you choose peace over drama, you affirm your commitment to your own well-being. Every time you refuse to be drawn back into their chaos, you demonstrate your growth and evolution. This reading is ultimately about freedom, Taurus. You have freed yourself from the exhausting cycle of hoping they will change, waiting for them to grow up, making excuses for behavior that you would never accept from anyone else. You have freed yourself from the prison of trying to love someone into becoming who you need them to be. And in freeing yourself from that futile struggle, you have created space for authentic love to enter your life. Not the dramatic, chaotic, emotionally draining kind of connection you had with this person, but the steady, supportive, genuinely caring kind of love that actually nurtures your growth and happiness. The Ace of Cups at the end of your reading is the universe's promise that your capacity to love and be loved has not been damaged by this experience. If anything, it has been purified and strengthened. You now know what real love looks like, and you will never again mistake manipulation for affection or chaos for passion. As I wrap up this reading, I want you to remember that their hysteria and desperation is not about you. It is about them losing access to something they took for granted and treated carelessly. You are not responsible for managing their emotional reaction to the natural consequences of their behavior. Their attempts to make you feel guilty, to convince you that you are being unreasonable or cold, are just more manipulation. Trust the peace you feel in your decision to maintain distance. Trust the clarity you have gained about what you deserve in relationships. Trust the growth and strength you have developed through this challenging experience. You are entering a beautiful new chapter of your life, Taurus. One where your emotional energy is cherished and reciprocated rather than taken for granted and wasted. The cards are showing me such wonderful things ahead for you, relationships and experiences that will remind you what healthy connection actually feels like.